Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Ed.
Your research has been getting some really cool press lately, and I wanted to take a minute and get you to tell us a little bit more about it. Um, in your research, you show that people find hot foods are more satiating than cold foods, right? This was what it came out in Appetite recently. You published this in Appetite. It's been
Mhm.
written up in the Daily Mail. It's been getting featured in a lot of places. How do you know that?
It's a good question. I think it's a very general question, right? I mean, when we have an idea or when we have a hypothesis, how do we know that actually exists? Um, so we show that serving temperature impacts people's complementary food purchases, and the underlying reason, like you said, suggested, is the satiating effect of foods across a series of studies, including 2 field studies, 4 controlled experiments. We show that the effect exists. So we draw upon a population and we look if our hypothesis is correct. That's how we approached it. And field studies also supported the external validity of the idea, meaning that it is not the controlled experiments where we manipulate some of the factors to see if this effect exists or not. It's just, it happens in the real world as well.
Okay. And by field studies, you mean that you spied on people in cafes?
So that happened too, to be honest. It wasn't me. But yes, we did an observational study. You're right. It was in a small cafe, and we basically recorded whatever they were purchasing. But we didn't interfere with anything they did or anything of that nature. But in our first field study, we didn't spy. We actually purchased the receipts from a restaurant that's an established restaurant. And we started coding, our RA coded the data and showed us that this exists. Yeah.
Okay. Now, last I checked, though, you're a marketing professor.
Yeah.
Why does a marketing professor research food temperature? Why do marketers care about this?
Right. I think that's a good question as well. I am trained in consumer behavior, which is part of marketing. And I'm a consumer well-being professor, and I'm a consumer well-being researcher, which is, again, part of the marketing department. So if serving temperature of foods impact consumption habits and how we behave, especially if it makes us eat and spend more, that is of interest to me because it means that it impacts the health and wealth of consumers. So that's why this is interesting to me. But it's a good question.
Yeah, well, I know you also teach and are very passionate about sustainability. What do you think are some of the social implications of this kind of research?
Okay, so I think this is an important question. I have to take you to the obesity statistics to tell you a little bit about that. 40% of the US adult population and almost 18% of the US youth population are obese. Every indication suggests that the number will continue to grow. And there's this severe health and financial consequences of being overweight or obese. This research, we hope, may contribute to a development of a useful strategy in fighting obesity. So just incorporate one hot item into the consumption episode to avoid snacking, right? I mean, that's what we find. And we find, I think, our main contribution, and what I'm really excited about this paper is, even if it's the same food, even if we are talking about the same roast beef, which means that the caloric content, nutritional value should be same, served cold or hot, we see a difference. I think that's really powerful. Um, and if we are aware of these biases, if we are aware of these incorrect, false assumptions that this is not really satiating, we have a tendency as consumers and humans to correct those. So my hope is this would be a good strategy to do that because it's an easy tool.
That's great. It's really fascinating work. I can't wait to hear what you come up with next. And we'll keep talking about research.
Yes, cool. That's nice. Thank you so much for meeting with me, Ed.